So you're not gonna.
Do you want me to stay? Do you want me to stay or like?
I mean, you can stay if you
Yeah,
want.
I will. We're live again. If you
Okay.
want to plug that in.
All right.
Sure. I'm Ross Crouere, Survival 401k. When society collapses, food and water scarcity becomes real. Travel is restricted and people become violently needy. Then it's too late. Many folks today only have resources to last them a few days.
Let's do one more segment, and then I'll just wrap it up. So we'll do one more, and then I thought maybe we'd talk a little bit about your book, if that's possible. Anything more we need to cover about this?
No, if you wanted to hit anything on the budget, though, they had a special budget meeting last week. If you want to touch the budget,
Okay.
There's a lot of talk that Latoya doesn't have the budget ready. And if you want,
To the original from 6 to 7 with game previews. I take over the 7 reports from 35 games statewide, interviews with winning coaches, analysis, and frequent scoreboard updates from Crescent City Sports.
Damn, Charles.
I mean, the research is extensive. So you're in here. I mean, you're in the back of the letter. But that's like chapter 38, you know. I mean, but it's
38.
yeah. So this I think is 1, 2, and probably 3. So this is chapter 29.
Oh my gosh.
It is. So that's why it's a good
This
ebook.
is all online?
It's all online for $10. So it's an ebook. It's a great reference. It's got so
Yeah.
much information in it.
Right. Hey, welcome back. Our friend is going to be with us in another segment here, Charles Marsala, and going to talk a little bit here about the monuments. And Charles has done more research into this than anybody. And of course, his book, A Monumental Heist, A Story of Race, A Race to the White House, that you can get online. And let Charles tell you where you can get it. Voluminous research, and I'm looking here at 3 volumes, 39 chapters, and just a very exhaustive study with all these footnotes, unlike Mitch Landry, who had no footnotes. And I guess he had a ghostwriter too, if I'm not mistaken. So, he got a lot of media. Hopefully, Charles, when he gets this published in, hard copy, will get a lot of media too. So, Charles, thank you for all your research on the airport, and we're going to link to where people can get more information about that. And as far as the monuments, as I'm sure you saw last night, still a hot button issue. Still came up last night in our panel. Heated discussion about it. So the issue that really didn't exist prior to Mitch Landrieu making it an issue is now still an issue because we haven't resolved anything with the monuments.
No, we haven't. And actually, they're in a shed right now out in New Orleans East. And I think we've been lucky for the last 2 years that we did not have a hurricane, because I think that shed would have been blown over. The monuments might have fell on each other. They could have been crushed. And, the estimates are we just saw a painting sell for $400 million.
Right.
I mean, what is the value of those monuments if they were put to auction? Are you talking $1 million, $5 million, $20 million? And to think that they could get blown over because they're not in
Are all the monuments together in one
Yes, they are.
shed, all 4 of them?
3 of them are.
3 of them.
I don't know about Liberty. I don't think Liberty is. But
Where is that one?
for what I understood at the time is that they're behind the Superdome. There's a facility behind the dome, and actually I followed Jeff Davis. They put that behind the dome. I saw them when they just took the forklift and took it off the flatbed truck and stuck it in the Homeland Security warehouse that's behind the dome. The other 2 went out to was called an EMD yard out in New Orleans East, and they built a shed around those. And I've got photos, and those are in the book. I got some great photos. One reason why the book is so big is that almost every page has an image on it, whether it's a graph, a chart, a history, a photo. It tells the story of what happened during our period. Mm-hmm. And then as we get calls, and there's a great photo of Beauregard on his horse, surrounded by all the damaged cop cars and ambulances that they repaired there, up against the fence with the trees around him that I shot from the business across behind, on the other side of the fence. So that's in the book, and for $10 you can buy the book online. The print version is going to be...
What a deal.
Yeah, it is. That's one where it's 700 pages of information. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to research something, whether it be on Beauregard, Davis, Lee, the dedication speeches, mm-hmm. who was Take 'em Down NOLA, how did Memorial Day get started, which I show in the book. I went up to Mississippi, where I believe Memorial Day got started by the Daughters of the Confederacy. I did that to show that these ladies that built these 700 monuments in the Southeast are wonderful women who actually set up the foundation, what is now the VFW. There was no VFW when the Civil War ended. They were wounded men, tens of thousands, that needed to be fed, that needed to feel like they had lived a good life. So these ladies did that, and if you look at what their mission statement was, nothing about white supremacy, nothing about racism. Mainly, we're going to take care of these men, and we're going to treat them well. 4 years later, the VFW takes the same thing right after the Spanish-American War.
Now, Mitch Landrieu and his supporters will always point to what they call as the cult of the lost cause. And that's what they claim this is all about. Do you want to respond to that?
Well, I do, because, and I'm trying to be diplomatic here.
You don't have to.
All right, well,
you don't have to.
What I found, which is in the book, was early in that process, somebody sent Mitch's staff a letter saying that Beauregard statue was traced to the cult of the lost cause.
Which is what exactly?
The cult of the lost cause, to me, is a concept that the South was overpowered, that they were never going to really win, so that there was this desire to validate that these men fought gallantly for a cause that they couldn't win. And in the book, and as we have a lot of tariffs right now, what I argue a lot is from 1816 to 1860, the U.S. government ran on tariffs. There was no income tax. I mean, it's hard for us to imagine that.
Right.
And Henry Clay, who's got a statue they want to take down, he was the advocate that said when we just had gotten the Louisiana Purchase. I heard you talking about that,
Jefferson, right. Okay. I was defending Thomas Jefferson.
All right, so think about this, Jeff. Jefferson buys Louisiana. There are no bridges, no railroads, no roads, nothing. How do we fund that much infrastructure? We funded it by tariffs, mostly on cotton and other stuff coming to the South. And for that 40-year period, the South started getting very, very angry. So you have slavery as an issue, and I don't deny it. It's discussed in the book.
Right.
But what I point out is
economic factors.
Economic factor was huge, and another factor is, which I talk about, all these little antidotes that I found, which I think are amazing. If you go to Jackson Square and you look on Andrew Jackson Monument, what the words written in there are, "The Union must and shall be preserved." Now think about that. He was dead before the Civil War. Nobody, and I traced why are those words there. When did he say them? What did he mean? And that I talk about in the book as well. So the whole story, so erasing these monuments just wipes out that whole period of how we decided to build the infrastructure of the Louisiana Purchase.
You mentioned Jackson. That is an ex-target of these folks. You know them well. Take them down NOLA. They had a recent gathering. They've got other targets. I think 20 some odd different monuments. You've met with the mayor. You're part of a committee that gave her some recommendations. She was going to move forward, but I think she held back after getting pressure from Take 'em Down NOLA. Do they have a lot of access to her? Do you think they have a lot of influence over her?
Well, and I will say that there's some, I think the mayor did a good step there. She reached out to the preservation groups and said, give me your recommendations. So I don't think that process is over. I think that it's also, it's a thing where you're evolving. In my opinion, having been a mayor, I felt that there were certain rules that our group needs to look at harder to see what she can implement. So we shouldn't stop right now. We should keep looking for solutions. And she's very open to that. So I think she's taking a very difficult situation, just like she's got handed this budget with all these mushrooms in it.
Sewage and water board.
She's got all these problems.
She got all kinds of problems.
And a friend ran into her 2 nights ago and thinks very highly of her, and other people have. And I so far everything I've seen, I really want to give her all the chance, because she seems to be very focused and trying to reach out to fix these problems she's inherited. And
what about on the issue of the monuments?
Well, on the monuments, I think where we are is that our group started a process, Take 'em Down NOLA, and I want to think some parts to what they say are valid. I mean, they are definitely, when you look at things, there are areas that are so gray that you got to appreciate where they're coming from. The Charlotte statue. I mean, that statue, there were 1,600 men that were drafted to go fight, and what they saw was the North invading North Carolina, and that 500 of them died. That'd be like Vietnam being drafted, okay? So the Daughters of the Confederacy decide to build that statue, but the guy that dedicates it, that's speaking, he does say some racist things.
Right.
So it makes it gray, and if you think, well, the purpose of it was to honor the students that died, but somebody else steps in and does something, and you lose the statue. Now, I went to the last thing where they were at Jackson Square, and I disagree with some of their their facts.
Take them down to
Fact. But one thing they said was they brought up the hurricane shelter on Poland Avenue, and that there's no place for people who ride bikes to, that work in the hospitality to go evacuate. And I think that when we look at that Encompass thing, it's also hearing more about what they have to say. We need to fix that shelter. FEMA gave us $35 million, and it's gone. Every city, when I was mayor,
That's a whole nother issue.
That's
though,
a whole
right?
other
Yeah,
issue.
okay.
But it's part of their issue, and I think it
Yeah.
overencompasses that the monuments are used to start talking points on a lot of other stuff other than the monument.
Well, and as far as the monuments go, we don't know what's going to happen in the spots where the monuments were standing.
I have a proposal. I've been working with Frank Stewart on that. The man is amazing. Over this last year, I've gotten to work with him a lot, and his vision on how to bring different sides together and reach
Right.
out. The city is so blessed to have had him.
He got nowhere with Mitch Landrieu.
He got nowhere, and Mitch should have really read what his stuff, and Frank wanted to meet with Mitch several times. I just feel so fortunate that this last year, Frank has made me his facts guy. That's what you've known, that I've become
Right.
the guy that can research.
Right.
And but he then takes it, and he knows who to call and say, what if we do this? And that's what's been brilliant about looking at this man and how he's lived his life.
But yeah, he's a remarkable person, as his wife.
And we've got,
tremendous people.
back to your point, we've got some ideas. My thought has always been Lee Circle is close to the World War II Museum. And Lee's plantation became Arlington, which is 400,000 people buried. The Tigers, the LSU Tigers, which were the Lee's Tigers, 12,000 of them did not return home from the Civil War. So should we take this and make it into a place where you honor missing in action or killed in action? There's a lot of alternatives there. Frank is slowly working through with the mayor and other deals to plant some seeds for where it can be repurposed.
But right now, we got nothing.
We got nothing right
Yeah.
now.
And maybe the mayor will act, and hopefully she will, or maybe she'll be frozen by fear by the Take 'em Down NOLA group and do nothing. And that would be a shame, because they're eyesores right now. It's an eyesore to go by Lee Circle and to see this massive pedestal with nothing on top of it.
It totally is. I believe the mayor, when she, being mayor-elect, reached out and she was in the papers and put herself out there. So I don't see her retreating. I see her trying to figure out how to compromise between the two.
504-556-9696 to join us. Charles Marsala with us, Jeff Crouere here. Let's welcome our good buddy Roy, who's checking in from Kenner. What's happening, my friend? Good morning. Welcome.
Hi there.
All right, sir. Very good, sir.
By the way, I like your re-election signs. You have a great day. No.
All right, good questions, my friend. Good questions. So, start with the legislature.
Yeah, we have some contacts that we're putting through bills. What I'm hearing is that Senator Alioto, who had sent it to what was called the Kill Committee, might be gone.
Senator Lario?
Lario, yes, that he might
Lario.
not be there. And that I had thought that there needs to be a bill that's written, and I've started talking to people in the Senate that would say that if you take down a monument, you got to give it back to the people that donated. And I felt like if there is a justification to remove something, to end this whole debate, which is national, of what to do with these statues. And in St. Louis, they've already decided that that's what they're going to do. They took down a monument, they gave it back to the Daughters of the Confederacy.
But what about before you can take down a monument, you have to have a vote of the people to authorize something like that?
Jeff, where I was the petition that I created actually said, and I thought that the lawsuits were missed a clause. To me, that they lost on the traffic cameras, that they had done it in violation of the city charter. The city charter of New Orleans says you're supposed to protect and preserve monuments and landmarks, use them for education and the economic benefit of the city. And I think that had a lawsuit been filed that said you violated the city charter, that they're already protected, that would have been an interesting case. And the earlier problems were jurisdiction, this or that, federal funding, but it was never challenged that it violated the charter. which would be like an executive order from the president violating the Constitution.
So that could have been an avenue that they pursued, but they didn't.
It didn't
for whatever reason.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a former politician,
Yeah.
so I kind of see it in a different light. The people that did it needed to react quickly. They filed something that delayed things for 16 months, so kudos for that. But you know, looking on it from a different set of eyes, I would have maybe handled it different. The beads, to get back to that, the idea with the beads was, which was interesting, and I say it wasn't my business. So you need to go to Forever Lease Circle in beads, and they're on Facebook. I think they're on Etsy to buy more. And I do think that there's a shipment that came in. I'm not part of that organization, although they donated to us to help us with what we're doing, and they're great people. So that would be the way to do that. The idea was at Gallier Hall that they wanted the crew members to throw beads to the guest of the mayor.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like satire.
And the mayor, right?
Right. And they ended up, I think, selling almost 40,000 pair of beads.
Did they ever throw the beads at the...
I believe a lot of people were throwing the beads. It was sold
Gallier
out.
Hall?
It was sold out, and the efforts to prohibit it never worked out.
Charles Marsala, good information. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it as always. And good luck getting this. And this book, these manuscripts are amazing here.
Yeah.
Three volumes.
And Jeff, I'm going to agree with your caller here that sent us a message. Benjamin Butler did write the message on Jackson's statue.
Okay. So, yeah, I want to thank our caller for phoning that in. All right, we'll come back and wrap it up next right here in Ringside on WGSO. Jeff Crouere here. We'll be right back. And I have a special announcement, too. So stay tuned.
It was great. Thank you.
I'm back. So where you at? It's
Frank
happy
and I
hour
are,
on the Nikki Reyes Show
we've
every
got
Friday at
proposal
5
we're working
p.m.
through
till 6
change
p.m.
channels right now to see if we play it on both the monuments.
Okay. So tell Frank I said hi.
Believe that everyone